A sword. Though forged in cold steel, it carries within it a destiny as fiery as a storm. This is no ordinary weapon. It's surrounded by blood, betrayal, politics, and the dream of uniting an entire kingdom. The legend of King Arthur begins with this very sword embedded deep within a mysterious stone, one that no man could lift, despite countless attempts, because this sword chooses its own king. Legend of the Kingdom of Camelot takes us back to a mythical yet strikingly real era, where the fate of empires could be reshaped by the edge of a blade. Arthur, a commoner unaware that royal blood flows through his veins, never knew the storm that slept within him. But when he drew Excalibur, it wasn't just a sword that rose, it was the awakening of a legend. This isn't just a story of war, it's the tale of a sword that chooses the course of history, a sword that builds kingdoms and destroys them. At the beginning, we're taken back to a kingdom that rose during the late 5th to early 6th century, a time when magic ruled over everything, and leading that magic was a powerful sorcerer named Mordred. He always had one goal: to become the king of this land. One day, he attacked the kingdom with thousands of soldiers riding massive war elephants. The current king, Uther, begins preparing for war, but his own brother, Vortigern, warns him not to fight because the enemy is far too strong. But Uther refuses to back down. He takes up his enchanted sword and heads into battle. Mordred may have been strong in magic, but he had no idea what kind of power Uther's sword truly held. And within moments, Mordred is defeated. But peace doesn't last long. Soon Uther discovers that his brother Vortigern wants to take the throne for himself. In a horrific act, Vortigern sacrifices his own life to a dark force and transforms into a demon. He gains a power that rivals even Mordred's. Hearing this, Uther tries to escape, fleeing with his wife and their infant son Arthur. But Vortigern tracks them down and, using his dark powers, kills both Uther and his wife. With his last breath, Uther places baby Arthur into a small boat, sending him far away to safety beyond the borders of the kingdom. Vortigern claims the throne and becomes the new king of Camelot, and soon he begins to rule with cruelty, enslaving people and rebuilding the kingdom. Meanwhile, young Arthur grows up in a distant village. Life for him is harsh. The other kids constantly bully him, so Arthur learns self-defense from a kung fu master to survive. But every night, he's haunted by terrifying nightmares, visions of how his par were brutally murdered back in the kingdom. The river near the castle suddenly dries up, and from beneath the mud, a mysterious sword is revealed, embedded in stone. No one can pull it out, but King Vortigern recognizes the sword instantly. He seeks answers from strange creatures known as the Mothhacks. They tell him, "As your power grows, so does your threat. To survive, you must find Arthur and kill him." So Vortigern sends his soldiers to the small town where Arthur lives in hiding. The soldiers begin harassing the local women violently. Arthur steps in and fights back, but his boss, Jack, warns him, "These men serve the king. If you cross them, you're asking for death." That night, Arthur finds out the soldiers were sent to capture him. He tries to escape, but he's caught and dragged back to Camelot. There, Arthur sees a huge crowd. Everyone's trying to pull the sword from the stone, but none can move it. Then Arthur steps forward. He touches the sword, and a surge of energy blasts through him like electricity. Everyone stares in shock. He tries again, this time with both hands. And suddenly, the sword begins to glow and effortlessly slides out of the stone. A tremor spreads across the entire kingdom. Arthur can't hold the sword for long. Its power is too much. He collapses and passes out. When he wakes up, King Vortigern stands before him. The king asks, "You must be Uther's son, because this sword belonged to him and only his bloodline could pull it from the stone." But Arthur, confused and afraid, says, "I don't even know anyone named Uther," but the king doesn't believe him. Without saying a word, he walks away. The next morning, a huge crowd gathers outside the palace. All of them are here for one reason: to see the son of their former king, because they believe only Uther's son could have pulled the sword from the stone. Vortigern talks to Arthur and tries to convince him that he must go before the people and prove he's not special, that he's just an ordinary man who cannot wield that sword. If he refuses, Vortigern threatens to kill the woman who raised him. So Arthur steps before the people and declares, "I don't know anyone named Uther, and I have no power that makes me worthy of this sword." But right after this, Vortigern commands his guards to execute Arthur to chop off his head. Just then, a mysterious sorcerer sends her eagle into the sky. The eagle attacks the guards at the same time. Nearby, horses and dogs begin to panic and create chaos. In the middle of the confusion, the guards are forced to let Arthur go. The place erupts into absolute mayhem. People start running in every direction. Taking advantage of the chaos, Arthur's friends rush in. They take him to a safe house. There, his friend William asks, "What are you going to do with the sword you took from the king?" Arthur replies, "I want to fight." But none of them are skilled warriors, so one by one they begin sparring with Arthur to test his strength, and Arthur defeats them all. But when it's William's turn, Arthur suddenly loses control of the sword. He starts seeing strange visions and then collapses. He begins to dream. In the vision, he's a small child. His father stands before him, handing him a sword. The next moment, Arthur wakes up. He sees the sorceress sitting beside him, and she's pulling dark energy out of the sword. She says, "The nightmares you see every night and the pain you feel when you touch this sword. I can take it all away if you give me one chance." She then takes Arthur to an island and says, "You must climb to the highest point of the tower here and touch that place with your sword." Arthur agrees without hesitation, but he has no idea how terrifying this island truly is. The sorceress leaves him there alone. Slowly, Arthur begins to realize this island is crawling with deadly creatures. To survive, he draws his sword for the first time and slays every one of them. Days pass like this. Finally, he reaches the top of the tower. The moment he touches the stone with the sword, a blinding light erupts, and then Arthur sees the rest of his forgotten past. He sees that it was the sorcerer who killed his mother, and his father had gone to fight that sorcerer. Before doing so, he placed young Arthur in a boat to save him. After his father's death, his body turned to stone and was washed away into the river, the same river that led to this island. After witnessing all of this, Arthur once again collapses. When he wakes up, the sorceress stands before him. She says, "Once Vortigern's tower is completed, his power will double." Arthur returns to the safe house where his old friends are waiting for him. He introduces them to the king's enemies so they can all fight together. Then William suggests, "If we want to defeat Vortigern, we must strike at what he loves the most, that tower he's building." According to the plan, Arthur and his allies cut off the supplies that are being used to build the tower. They also free the boys who were forced into slavery under the king. At the same time, they set fire to an alcohol factory. Sensing the situation, Vortigern tries to strengthen his position. He arranges a meeting with the most powerful families of the city. Arthur gets wind of this, so he and his team plan a bold move. They will attack Vortigern during that meeting. Finally, the day of the meeting arrives. But hiding from afar, Arthur realizes it's not going to be as easy as he thought. There are guards everywhere protecting the king. And then comes a twist. Vortigern had known about the attack all along, so he doesn't come to the meeting himself. Instead, he sends someone else in his place. As a result, when William shoots his arrow, it hits that man, not the king. The moment it happens, all the guards go on high alert. The entire situation flips. Everyone tries to escape as fast as they can, but the king's guards start hunting them down, and a fierce fight breaks out. During the chaos, one of Arthur's allies, Blacklock, is gravely injured, but Arthur keeps moving forward with his group, and they end up hiding inside a martial arts school. The teachers and students there recognize Arthur, and without hesitation, they follow his lead. So when the guards attack the school, everyone joins forces to fight them off. Even the sorceress joins in, using her magic to help. But suddenly, one of the guards tries to stab her in the neck. Arthur can't stay silent anymore. He raises his sword. A terrifying power bursts from the blade, a power he never imagined. With each strike, he takes down multiple guards. Within seconds, the entire place is filled with dust and silence. Because the guards have been thrown everywhere by the sword's fury, everyone is stunned by the sword's power. One by one, they retreat to their homes for safety. And now, the people of the city begin to see Arthur as their leader. His name spreads across the kingdom because of his courage. Later that evening, a young boy named Blue brings the injured Blacklock to safety. But Blacklock knows his wounds are too severe. He won't survive, so he tells Arthur to leave immediately. Arthur listens and quietly slips away. But just moments later, Vortigern and his men storm into the safe room. He questions Blacklock about Arthur's location, but Blacklock refuses to say anything. Suddenly, the boy, Blue, walks in. He warns the king, "If you do anything, I'll call the villagers." Hearing this, Vortigern cuts off one of Blacklock's ears. The boy starts screaming. Hearing that scream, Arthur turns back. He rushes in and demands the king release Blacklock, but Vortigern refuses. Instead, he kills him. Arthur grabs the boy and escapes. They get into a boat and sail far away from the city to a safe place. But once they arrive, Arthur starts blaming himself. All this death, all this pain, it's because of him. In frustration, he throws his sword away. Trying to calm down, he starts running and keeps running until he collapses into the mud. Suddenly, a hand reaches out from the mud and pulls him underwater. Arthur sees it's a fairy. She shows him visions, reminding him why he must keep fighting. He sees how cruelly people are dying because of Vortigern, how brutally they're being punished. After witnessing it all, Arthur picks up his sword once again. Moments later, his allies arrive. The people of the village are now fed up with the king's tyranny. They start preparing for war. When they reach their homes, they hear bad news. They find out the king has captured Blue, that young boy, and the sorceress. The king has announced if Arthur doesn't surrender to him, he will kill both the boy and the sorceress. Now Arthur's allies make their way to the tower where Vortigern is holding them captive. There, the king tells them, in exchange for Arthur's sword, he will release the sorceress. But there's one condition. Arthur must come to the tower tomorrow morning. The sorceress then goes directly to Arthur, and she releases a magical snake into his body. The snake bites Arthur. She tells him, "This poison, it will save you." The next day, as promised, Arthur reaches the tower. Meanwhile, the sorceress's eagle releases the snake inside the palace. As soon as the king sees Arthur, he draws his powerful sword. But then the snake leaps at the king in a rage. The king kills the snake with his sword, and that becomes his biggest mistake. The sword gets stuck in a hard stone. No matter how much the king tries, he can't pull the sword out. It was the sorceress's perfect plan. Then a massive serpent enters the palace. In an instant, it devours all the guards. But strangely, it doesn't touch Arthur. Outside, Arthur's team releases the prisoners. Meanwhile, King Vortigern goes to the water spirits again. He wants to regain his power. The water spirits tell him he has to offer something in return. Previously, he sacrificed his wife. But now there's no one left, so he sacrifices his daughter. He hands her dead body to the water spirits, and with that, he becomes a demon again. Back inside the tower, Arthur, with his sword, starts fighting the guards. In an instant, he slaughters them all. But then, that terrifying demon returns. Arthur climbs to the top of the tower. There, a fierce battle ensues between them. At one point, Arthur is struck hard and falls unconscious. While unconscious, he recalls how Vortigern, in his demon form, brutally killed his father when he was a child. This memory wakes him up. He stands up, and now his sword strikes twice as fast. The battle intensifies. Finally, in one moment, he decapitates the demon, severing its head from its body. The demon slowly returns to Vortigern's true form. Then Arthur destroys the entire tower. Everything is over. Vortigern and his remaining guards are destroyed, turned to ashes. The people step forward. They declare Arthur as their new king. And that's where the story ends. Friends, how did you like this story? Please make sure to comment and let me know. We'll meet again with a new story, a new video. Thank you.